You know that feeling, right? If you've ever stepped into a Japanese home, that immediate thing, almost instinctual, where you take off your shoes right at the entrance.
Yeah, second nature.
It's so common, but, that makes you wonder, is it really just about keeping the floors clean? Like, not tracking in dirt?
That's usually the first thought, yeah.
Or is there something, I don't know, deeper going on, some kind of hidden rule maybe? What's actually wrong with wearing shoes inside there?
Well, that's what we're digging into today.
Exactly. Today on the Deep Dive, we're going to sort of pull back the curtain on this really quiet everyday ritual.
It seems simple, but it's not.
Right. It's a custom that's shaped by, well, way more than just hygiene. We're talking weather, architecture, even ancient beliefs.
And this really profound idea about keeping the inner world, sacred.
Yeah.
Untouched.
Yeah. So our mission here is to explore why this habit exists, why it's stuck around for so long, and what it really tells us about how Japanese people see that line between outside and inside.
The physical and the spiritual, really.
Precisely. And ZenWa's Insights actually gave us 5 gentle questions to sort of unlock this. So let's dive in.
Okay.
Let's start with that really foundational question. Why do Japanese people often see their home as, like, a sacred inner space?
It's fascinating, actually, how deep this runs. There's this really fundamental Japanese concept, uchi and soto.
Inside and outside.
Exactly. Uchi is the inside, your group, your space. And soto is the outside, the external. But uchi, the inner space, isn't just separate. It's often seen as inherently pure, sacred even.
Okay.
While soto, the outside, is, well, external, maybe less refined. It can even carry a sense of impurity.
Impurity. So the entrance is key then.
Absolutely key. The genkan, the entrance area, it functions as a deliberate kekai.
Kekai, like a barrier.
Yeah, basically a sacred barrier or boundary. Its whole purpose is to stop kagari. That's the impurity or defilement from the outside world from getting into the sanctity of the home.
So taking off shoes is the first step.
It's the primary act in that purification. It's like you're symbolically shedding the outside world's dirt. Not just physical dirt, but maybe spiritual dirt, too.
Wow, okay. That connects to religion then, I assume.
Oh, definitely. It's profoundly influenced by spiritual traditions. Shintoism, for instance.
Japan's indigenous religion.
Right. It teaches that kami gods or spirits, they don't just live in big shrines. They're in nature, in everyday life, even potentially within the home.
So that's why you see those little altars.
Exactly. The kamidana, the Shinto altars, or butsudan, the Buddhist ones. They're spaces to connect with ancestors, with deities right there in the house.
So the idea is gods might actually be in the home.
Yes, that teaching is quite widespread. So removing shoes becomes this powerful sign of respect, just like you'd act in a temple or shrine. And historically, most homes did have a kamidana.
Interesting.
And think about Okinawa, historically. The home was seen as the dwelling place for the god of fire. That elevates the whole house to a kind of sacred shrine space.
Where you'd obviously take your shoes off.
Naturally. And similarly, the butsudan in Buddhism offers that space for peace, for remembering ancestors. So entering a home, it really carries this special significance. It's like approaching a temple. It's an act of reverence.
That really paints a picture. The home isn't just walls and a roof. It's this inner world, this sacred zone. So, okay, moving on from the spiritual side a bit. How much of this is just practical? Is taking off shoes really only about, say, cleanliness, or is it also about protecting the house itself, the materials?
It's definitely both. Cleanliness is a huge practical driver, no question, but it absolutely extends to protecting the physical house.
Right.
Japan has this deep, deep emphasis on hygiene, and you have to remember, historically, lots of rain, unpaved roads, shoes just got muddy.
So it was just essential to keep that muck out.
Pretty much. Keep the dirt, dust, bacteria out of the main living space.
And humidity plays a role too, right? I hear that comes up a lot with Japan.
Oh, massively. That's crucial. Japan's climate is very humid. So any moisture and dirt on shoes, bring that inside and you've basically got a perfect recipe for mold and bacteria. So removing shoes is a really practical way to cut down those risks. Keep the indoor environment cleaner, healthier. It even ties into traditions like misogi.
The big year-end cleaning.
Exactly. That's not just about being tidy. It's this belief that a really clean, organized home creates a sacred, peaceful vibe, especially for welcoming the new year.
Okay, so cleanliness is huge. But what about protecting the house itself?
Right, that's the other big practical piece. Think about traditional Japanese homes. You often have beautiful but delicate material.
Or tatami mats.
Exactly, the tummy mats, polished wooden floors. These things get scratched, stained really easily by outdoor shoes. So taking shoes off is just, well, common sense to protect those surfaces, keep the house looking good, lasting longer.
It's part of that wisdom to protect the house, as you put it earlier.
Yes, precisely. And you even see this wisdom built into the architecture. Many traditional homes have this takayuki design and elevated floor. There's a distinct step up at the entrance. It's called the kama or shiki.
Ah, the step up. I've seen that.
Right. And that physical step actually created the expression I eniagaru,
Which means?
to go up into the house. It subtly reinforces that boundary, that transition. It makes it feel kind of unnatural to just stomp inside onto that raised floor with your outside shoes on.
The design and the language work together. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Which leads us right into the next point. How did Japan's specific climate, especially that humidity, really help shape this whole habit?
Yeah, it's a critical piece of the puzzle. Japan's an island nation, right? High temps, high humidity, especially during the rainy season, tsuyu.
Sounds sticky.
It can be. So imagine walking around in that kind of weather with shoes on all day. Your feet would get uncomfortable, sweaty, damp pretty quickly.
Makes sense. Being barefoot or in socks indoors sounds much better.
Exactly. Just from a pure comfort standpoint, it makes indoor barefoot living much more desirable.
And connecting back to cleanliness.
Well, like we said, shoes pick up moisture and dirt. In that humid environment, bring that inside and boom, mold, bacteria start thriving super fast.
So removing shoes is almost like a public health measure for the home.
In a way, yes. It's a critical preventative step, essential for keeping the home healthy, hygienic. It stops that moisture from coming in and raising the indoor humidity too much.
Which could cause bigger problems, right?
Absolutely. Mold, mites, even structural damage over time, potential health issues. So removing shoes is really another layer of that wisdom to protect the house. It's a direct adaptation to the climate.
And the house structure itself reflects this adaptation.
Definitely. That takayuki, the elevated floor we mentioned, that wasn't just for show. It was a brilliant way to deal with the climate.
How did it help?
It lifts the living space off the damp ground, allowing air to circulate underneath. This helps prevent dampness from rising up and accumulating under the house, keeping the inside drier, more comfortable. And again, that physical step up gives us iniagaru, to go up into the house. It's not just literal, it creates this psychological separation. You feel like you're entering a distinct, drier, cleaner zone.
And with those unpaved roads back then.
The elevated entrance just made it practical. You had to take your muddy shoes off before stepping up into the clean inner space.
So the environment, the architecture, the language, it all points towards taking shoes off.
Yeah.
Which brings us to tatami mats. How did they and just the general floor culture play into this?
Tatami. That's another huge factor. You have to understand Japan's long history of basically living life at floor level.
The floor sitting culture.
Yes, sitting, lying down, eating, often directly on tatami or other floor surfaces. Even sleeping is typically on futon rolled out right onto the floor.
Okay, yeah.
So when your whole life happens that close to the ground, you really don't want outside dirt, mud, whatever, tracked into that intimate living space.
Makes perfect sense. It's very different from cultures where everyone's mostly on chairs or high beds.
Exactly. In those cases, wearing shoes inside might not seem like such a big deal.
Yeah.
But on tatami, it's a different story.
Because they're delicate.
Very much so. We touched on this, but tatami mats, and often the wooden floors too, are easily damaged, scratched, stained. Tatami in particular, made from woven agusa reeds over compressed straw.
Yeah.
It's quite absorbent. It'll soak up spills, dirt gets ground in. So taking shoes off is just fundamental maintenance, protecting your investment.
Beyond the practical, though, is there more to tatami?
Oh, absolutely. There's the whole sensory experience. Tatami has this wonderful, distinct grassy scent from the agusa reeds.
I think I know the smell. It's quite calming.
It is. And it has a nice elasticity. It's comfortable to sit or lie on. Plus, it provides natural insulation. It absorbs some moisture, even dampens sound.
So taking shoes off lets you actually feel those benefits.
Exactly. You connect with the material.
Right.
It enhances that feeling of relaxation, of being truly home and comfortable.
How far back does the tatami connection go? Did people always have wall-to-wall tatami?
Not necessarily wall-to-wall initially. The custom of removing shoes probably goes back even further, maybe to the Yayoi period with those elevated dwellings. Tatami started out as smaller, kind of movable mats or cushions.
Okay.
It was really during the Edo period that using tatami to cover entire rooms became widespread, especially in samurai and merchant homes, then filtering down.
And once tatami was everywhere.
Wearing hard-soled shoes or clogs outside just became completely impractical. It really cemented the shoe-off custom as the norm.
And is there a sacred aspect to tatami itself?
Yes, there is. Tatami has traditionally been used in very important spaces: shrines, temples, rooms for the tea ceremony. In these contexts, it's considered quite sacred.
Sacred flooring.
And it was even believed sometimes to act as a barrier against evil spirits. Plus, get this, the decorative cloth borders on tatami mats, the hiri.
Yeah.
Historically, it was considered taboo, really bad form to step on the hiri. It was seen as disrespectful, almost sacred ground itself.
Wow. So walking on tatami with dirty outdoor shoes.
Wouldn't just be messy, it could have felt like you were actually desecrating a sacred space. A much bigger deal than just needing to sweep up later.
Okay, the floor itself having this spiritual weight, that adds a whole new layer. Which leads us perfectly into our last question, maybe the deepest one. Is there a more profound spiritual or cultural meaning here? Something about leaving shoes at the entrance being like a mental boundary.
I think absolutely yes. That uchi and soto concept we started with, it functions as more than just a physical line. It's a really powerful psychological and, you could say, ritual boundary.
So it's not just keeping out physical dirt.
Right. It's about intentionally not bringing in unnecessary things from the outside world. Think stresses, distractions, maybe even negative energies or impurities. It's about leaving that stuff at the door before you enter the inner sacred space.
That sounds almost like Zen or Buddhist thinking.
It resonates very strongly with those ideas, yeah.
Yeah.
Purity, letting go. It also connects directly back to that Shinto idea of purifying defilement, Kagara Ohara.
So shoe removal is like a mini ritual.
Exactly. A small ritual act that helps you make a mental transition. You shed the outside world and you enter the home as a pure place. A place where you can be vulnerable, maybe symbolized by being barefoot, feel safe, be your true self.
Which reinforces the home as that sacred space.
It emphasizes those deeper connections. The home isn't just shelter. It's seen as a place for rest, yes, but also for connecting with ancestors, maybe with the divine, a place for spiritual renewal.
You mentioned something earlier about feet.
Ah, yes. There's this interesting belief, maybe more of a folk idea, that feet are furthest from the spirit.
Furthest from the spirit.
Yeah. So the idea follows that you'd naturally want to remove dirty shoes, representing that lowest part, before entering any kind of sacred space, be it your home or a temple.
That's fascinating. And what about that phrase again, I-ni agru?
Right, to go up into the house. It has layers. Literally, it's stepping up physically because of the elevated floors.
We covered that.
But the word aguru up, it can also be linguistically linked to kami, meaning God.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, so it subtly implies that entering the home isn't just stepping up physically, but maybe entering a space where gods are present or making contact with them. Kind of like how you offer up sacred sake omiki wo ajuru, that same ajuru or aguru.
So entering your home is like a small offering or a scent.
It carries that potential connotation, yeah. A spiritual upliftment or connection just by crossing the threshold.
And the tatami adds to this.
Briefly, yes. Circling back, its use in sacred settings and that taboo about stepping on the edges, the hairy, just reinforces the idea that bringing outside shoes onto it would be a kind of desecration.
Okay. Are there any other angles, maybe like feng shui?
That's relevant too. In Feng Shui, the genkin, the entrance, is considered the kino iraguchi, the entrance for energy or ki.
The energy entrance.
Right. And the belief is that a cluttered entrance, shoes scattered everywhere, can block the flow of good energy, maybe even invite negative vibes.
So a tidy entrance is good feng shui.
Exactly. Shoes neatly put away allows the ki to flow smoothly. Plus, some say the state of your genkin reflects your mental state. And of course, a well-kept entrance shows respect and hospitality to guests.
And just the simple psychology of it.
Oh, definitely. Taking off tight shoes after being out all day. It's just a physical relief, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It promotes relaxation. And it really acts as a mental switch. You leave the stress, the hustle of the outside world literally at the door, and you step into a space of inner peace, of rest.
So after all that, when we ask the big question again, why do Japanese people always take off their shoes when they step inside? What's the takeaway?
Well, it's so clear now, isn't it? It's really not just about keeping the floor clean, though that's part of it.
Right.
It's about something much, much deeper. It's this ritual woven into daily life from all these interconnected threads we've talked about.
From seeing the home as that sacred inner world, the uchi.
Exactly, separate from the soto. And it's about protecting those beautiful, delicate floors like tatami and wood.
And adapting to the climate.
Yes, that very practical, wise adaptation to a climate with lots of rain, distinct seasons, a way to keep the inside comfortable and healthy. It really comes from this quiet, kind of accumulated wisdom,
Wisdom to keep inside truly clean.
both for the body and for the mind. It's really holistic.
And underneath it all,
Underneath it all, I think there's this very simple, maybe universal wish to keep what's precious, safe, and untouched.
like the warmth of home.
The feeling of real rest and that vital line, that boundary between the often chaotic outside world and the place where we find our peace.
That's beautifully put. In ZenWa's view, taking off our shoes is just this tiny ritual that quietly says, here, I'm safe. Here, I'm home.
A small act with huge meaning.
It really is a remarkable example, isn't it? How these seemingly small, everyday customs can hold such profound cultural, even spiritual weight. It reminds us that every tradition really does have a story. So next time you encounter this practice, or maybe even do it yourself, you'll know there's this whole world of wisdom and history right there at the doorstep, just waiting to be understood.